Yo, what's going on everyone, Z-Karma here, and welcome back to another boring math video here in Borderlands 3. Today we're going to be talking about the Stinger builds. These builds revolve around a shield called the Stinger. This is a shield that drops from Anathema located midway through the Guardian takedown, and this shield is capable of creating builds that can do this. Yes, that was actually insane. All I needed in order for this to work is a Stinger shield and an artifact to complement it. In the clip that you just saw, I was using an Unleash the Dragon artifact. There are actually several different artifacts you can use, which we'll talk about later on. Anyway, in this video, I will show you exactly how this shield works, and also show you different ways to increase the damage dealt by this shield. So before I get into this breakdown, if you find this informative or helpful in any way, a like rating is always appreciated, and if you want to subscribe for more content like this, that'll be awesome as well. So anyways, let's not waste any more time and let's get straight into the boring math. This shield can come with an elemental resistance, and that is exactly what you're looking for. Additionally, you can also try and find this anointment on action skill start, activate any effects that trigger on shield break or fill. Let me explain why. This shield has 3 different effects. The first one says, while full, melee damage is increased by 50%. The second one says, returns 7041 damage if meleeed while shielded, and that damage is going to match the element of the resistance. And now these 2 things are not really necessary for this build. Instead, what we use for this build is the third effect, which is not listed, and that is that when your shield breaks, it creates a melee nova that deals 52,800 damage. So that is why this anointment comes in handy, because you can activate that shield break effect by just using your action skill. Additionally, that melee nova will match the element that your shield is resistant to. So that is why it is very important to have an element here, because now all elemental damage increases will apply to the nova of the shield. Also keep in mind that on Mayhem 10, there is about a 1500% increase to melee damage, so the overall damage on Mayhem 10 will be even higher. So anyways, right now I'm going to make use of this anoint that should create that nova that's going to deal 52,800 damage. It is going to be an elemental cryo nova. Cryo against flesh is neutral, so we won't be applying any multipliers here. And as you can see, if I activate it, we get 52,000. So now let's move on and show you how to increase the damage of this nova. So the specific things that will increase this damage are melee damage increases, elemental damage increases, splash damage increases, and universal damage increases. For example, the 300/90 anointment. That's all you need in order to increase the damage dealt by the Stinger Nova. So let's go ahead and make a quick build to increase the damage dealt by this Nova. Let's start off with melee damage. This can be increased with class mod increases, guardian rank increases, skills increases, and also by holding a weapon that will increase your melee damage. So for this video, I'll be using Illuminated Fist, which is going to increase my melee damage by 75%. I'll also be using Find Your Center, which will further increase my melee damage by 100%. Then I'll be equipping this golden rule that has a 59% increase to melee damage. And finally, I will be holding this Linoge, which is going to give me a 120% increase to my melee damage. These are all additives, so we're going to have a total of 354% increase to melee. Now let's increase our elemental damage. These increases can come from artifacts, guardian rank increases, and skills. So for now, I will be using Tempest, which is in the red tree, and it's going to give me a 30% increase to elemental damage. And finally, splash damage. These can come from skills, artifacts as AoE damage, from class mods as splash damage increases, and from an anointment on your weapon. So for example, you can carry action skill and anointment with 200% splash, As long as this anointment is currently active, that'll apply to the Nova as well. So for this video, I'm only going to be using 5 points into Arms Deal, which is going to give me a 20% increase to my splash damage. And when we apply all those bonuses to the Nova that deals 52,800 damage, we end up getting around 373k. So with all these bonuses, as you can see, 373k. That 14k was just my action skill damage. Keep in mind that damage will be even higher on Mayhem 10 with actual enemies, because that will give us a 1500% increase. On top of that, I am holding a Linoge with the 300/90 anointment that will also apply, so we also multiply by 4. And we end up getting around 23 million damage. So let's go ahead and check out if we're doing that amount of damage. If I use it, as you can see, we are doing 23 million damage. And that damage can be even higher, especially on Mo's where she can increase her splash damage even further. And also Flag. Flag has a lot of synergies with the Stinger Shield, with melee damage increases and also skills that increase damage universally. There are just so many ways to increase this damage even further. Like I said, you can actually hold a weapon with the 200% splash anoint, as long as you have that action skill end active. Preferably try to get this anoint on a weapon that actually increases your melee damage as well. For example, this gargoyle actually does increase melee damage. You just gotta check the weapon parts. So if you go into the weapon parts list, this barrel accessory is actually going to increase my melee damage by 60%, as you see there. And just so you know, the gargoyle can reach a 120% increase. Anyways, moving on, I thought I'd mention bonus elements. These bonus elements will apply to the Nova, except that this is only gonna be based on the damage of the Nova doing 52,800 damage. It's not gonna scale off of the 1500% increase, or any melee damage increases or splash damage increases. So essentially, this anointment for the Nova will only get you 26k damage, and then you can apply the bonus shock to whatever you're shooting at. So since this bonus element is shock, let's apply all the bonuses for elemental damage and the shock against flesh multiplier. The elemental damage increases that we have is Tempest, and Tempest actually increases shock by 40%. That gives us around 36k. However, shock against flesh is 0.65, and we will only do around 24k shock damage, even on Mayhem 10. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and show you this 24k damage. However, there's one small detail. I'm going to activate the action skill End Anoint, and if I use it, as you can see, these enemies took 23 million. However, the bonus shock damage of 24k did not appear. The reason is because these enemies die before the shock damage even appears. So what I'm going to do in order to see that 24k that I talked about, I'm not going to use this as a Linoge, which gives me 300% over 90 and also gives me 120% melee. I'm just going to switch to this sellout so we can lose some damage, and then we'll be able to see that 24k. So let's activate our action skill End Anoint, and then 24k as our bonus element damage. 24k on Mayhem 10 is nothing, so I definitely do not recommend you use this anoint. Unless you're going to be shooting enemies, of course this is going to help your weapons very much, but not the Nova. And I know someone's going to say that this might be useful with Ties That Bind. However, let me show you what happens with Ties That Bind without even using this anointment. So we're going to grab this guy, and check this out. Link, where is it? What happened here is that this target died before he could even link a target. So, essentially, you won't make any use of the 50% elemental anoint with Ties That Bind. I do want to say though that sometimes they do link damage. However, the linked damage with just 23 million down here will turn into 213 million. Let me see if I can replicate it. So we're going to grab this guy. And again, this target was linked too late. He's still alive with full health. Like, it's very, very hard to get that linked damage. There you go, guys. I finally got it to work. So I hit this enemy for 23 million, and the linked damage did 213 million. Do you really think that you need a 50% elemental anoint here? I don't think so. The 23 million, how we got here, we basically take 35% of that. Then our action skill damage was shock against flesh, so we multiply by 0.65. And then we apply any elemental damage increases. So we had 40% from Tempest. And then we also apply the Mayhem 10 scaling of Taized Bind, which is 600%. And finally, we had a weapon with the 300/90 anointment. So we multiply that by 4, giving us that 213 million damage. So that 50% elemental bonus is not going to do anything with Taized Bind either. The first target is only going to take 24k. And the second one is, you don't need more damage, the enemies are dead. But yeah guys, regardless, more often than not, the target that you grab is gonna die before he even links damage to nearby enemies. So now, I'm glad I touched on bonus elements, because now I want to talk about an artifact called Commander Planetoid. This one will give you 77.5% bonus elemental damage whenever you melee an enemy. Elemental type changes every 5 seconds. So what's really cool about this is that unlike the bonus element from our grenade, this one is based on melee. So the damage from the Nova is considered melee. So this is going to be based off of the entire damage that we're doing minus splash damage bonuses. So in this case, you will take the 23 million damage, remove splash damage and elemental damage increases by dividing. We had 20% as splash and 30% as elemental, and then we multiply by 0.775 to get the 77.5% bonus that the Commander Planetoid gives us. And we end up getting 11.8 million damage as our bonus. And now we can apply all elemental bonuses depending on the element that we get. And also applying the corresponding damage multiplier depending on what health bar we are hitting. Other things that you can do include a Mara with a driver and an elemental projector. Just make sure that the element on your shield actually matches your action skill element. You can also use an elemental projector white elephant because this melee Nova will actually proc the stickies. You can use a cut purse Commander Planetoid. In fact, I have one in here. With this cut purse Commander Planetoid, the Nova from the Stinger shield is melee damage. So that means that whatever weapon I'm holding, I'm going to refill my ammo. Additionally, obviously we already explained what the Commander Planetoid will do. There's so many different things that you can use for the Stinger shield, and I'll be leaving a list in the pinned comment below with the things you can use to increase your damage and make better use of the Stinger shield. I will also be including the perfect rolls on certain gear that you can use in order to maximize your damage. So there you go, that is all you need to know in order to make the best out of the Stinger shield. Increase elemental damage, increase your splash damage, increase your melee damage, get skills and equipment that increase your damage universally, and don't forget to have a 300/90 anointment and the 200% splash anoint. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to hit that like button for me, as that would be greatly appreciated, and if you want to subscribe for more content like this, that'll be awesome as well. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.